Now, there are certain movies that come out that blow people's minds. And, they're usually, the ones I'm referring to are sequels that are better than the original. And it's a rarity, but it does happen. Empire Strikes Back is a great example. Dark Knight is another great example. The first movie builds something up, lays the groundwork for the mythology, and then the sequel comes in and capitalizes on that and makes something so amazing in scope because they can sort of just jump right into the story. You don't have to set everything up. The problem comes when they decide, the filmmakers, that this amazing sequel is the middle chapter of an overall mythology, a trilogy. And what happens oftentimes when the sequel is that good is that the third installment is now being held to such high standards that it could never possibly live up to what people have in their minds as what the closing chapter should be. Return of the Jedi came out. It was a great movie. Return of the Jedi is an amazing film. But it's not quite as good as Empire Strikes Back, and so everybody hates it. Oh, Ewoks, and they don't like it. I guarantee you, and I've said this before, Dark Knight Rises will have the same problem. And I will swallow my words, because I will do a Dark Knight Rises review when the time comes. And if the critics and the fans all love it, I will eat my words. But I have a feeling it's going to be, it's not as good as Dark Knight. Oh, they shouldn't have made it. Bane sucks. Now, I think when it comes to a movie that is a Best Picture winner, and then spawns a sequel which is even better and is also a Best Picture winner, the expectations for the third chapter, especially if it's long delayed, are so through the roof that you could never live up to them no matter what you do. Thus, we come to The Godfather Part 3. I just finished watching this. I introduced my daughters to The Godfather because AMC was running Godfather, the complete Godfather saga, which, if you don't know what that is, it's Godfather 2 was a prequel showing the early days of Vito Corleone, played by Robert De Niro in Godfather 2, and it was also a sequel to The Godfather showing the rise of Michael Corleone, played by Al Pacino. And it was so they re-edited it so that it's the De Niro part of Godfather 2, Godfather 1, and then the Pacino part of Godfather 2. So it's all chronological. So my kids and I watched it. I wanted to introduce my kids to The Godfather. And I said, so well, we're going to follow up. We're going to not only watch those two, which are the better movies, but we're going to watch Godfather 3. And in watching Godfather 3 again, I realized it is a great movie. Godfather 3 is a phenomenal movie. But everybody hates it. Everybody loathes The Godfather Part 3. And I don't understand why. I've never understood it. I actually like it better now than I used to. I used to go, well, it has, and it does have its problems, and I will address that. But it is a great closing chapter to the saga. And I'll jump into where I agree with all of you first. And the big complaint that everybody pretty much agrees on is Sofia Coppola as Mary Corleone, Pacino's daughter in the movie, isn't very good. She's not an actress. She never was. She stepped in at the last minute to help her father because Winona Ryder was supposed to play the part, and I think she ended up breaking her leg or something, and she couldn't play it. Now, if Winona Ryder had played Mary Corleone, the movie is 100 times better. I mean, that's a big part, and Sofia Coppola really can't act. She's a good filmmaker. Lost in Translation is a great movie, but she's not a very good actress. But I think she takes a lot of heat. She takes a lot of crap. I think it must have been hard for her at the time. She was young, and just people tore her to shreds and said, "Oh, she only got the part because Coppola's her father." Of course she did. She was doing her dad a favor, stepping into the role. Was it a wise choice for Francis Ford Coppola to cast his own daughter? No, it wasn't. Nor is it really something that they should both be punished for the rest of their lives. Now, to me, an even bigger problem with the movie than the casting of Sofia Coppola is the not casting of Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall as Tom Hagen was one of the unsung heroes of the first two movies. Everybody focuses on Pacino and Brando and De Niro and James Caan. Robert Duvall he plays this amazing, he plays Tom Hagen, who's sort of the adopted brother slash consigliere slash lawyer for the Corleone family. And he's the voice of reason. He is cold-blooded as hell, but he is still the voice of reason in those first two movies. Now, I think it's George Segal, not George Segal, but I can't think of the actor's name who plays the lawyer in this one. But Tom Hagen is dead because Duvall wanted too much money. If they had just given him the money, I think at that point in his career, this movie came out in 1990, Duvall was an Oscar winner. Duvall had proven himself to be Pacino's equal as far as stature goes. It would have been a better movie. Finally, we get to the biggest problem with the movie, which is Pacino himself. Not that Pacino doesn't give a great performance. He does. The problem is Pacino is playing Pacino. He's not playing Michael Corleone anymore. Every now and then you catch a hint of Michael Corleone, but Pacino has evolved at this point to where he's Pacino. He's no longer can do the very quiet, performance. The great moment in the first movie where he's about to cap, I'm not going to say who, I'm going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but he's about to pop somebody in the head. And it's all in his eyes. It's all just in how conflicted he is. At this point, Pacino is in full hoo-ah mode, and his voice has changed. He's Pacino now. He's the sort of almost caricature of what we now know Pacino to be. And I never criticized swearing in a movie, but I really had a problem with Michael Corleone saying fuck so much. He doesn't even say it that much, but, he never cursed in the first movie. His performance in the first movie was so quiet and subtle. He almost never raised his voice, and when he did, it was really startling. Here, even when he's quiet, he's still being Pacino. He's still, Vincent, make your peace with Mr. Joe Sasa. He's got the gravelly voice, and he's no longer Michael Corleone. But again, it's not to say it's not a great performance. It's the evolution of the character that is now intermingled with the evolution of the actor. What is great about Godfather 3, because those three things are really it for me. Everything else is great about Godfather 3. The story is great. It's the introduction of Andy Garcia as Vincent Mancini, who is the illegitimate son of Sonny Corleone from the first movie. It is a little shoehorned into the mythology, because I've read not only The Godfather, but I've read the sequels, The Godfather Returns and The Godfather's Revenge, which were written years later by another author. And there's another book coming out in May called The Family Corleone, which I want to read. Vincent is nowhere to be seen in any of these. And if you read the original Godfather novel, there's no possibility that there was an illegitimate son with the woman that Sonny was screwing around with. So he's a little shoehorned in, but he's a great character. He's this amalgam of all of the other brothers and Vito as well. And his evolution to becoming I know, spoiler alert, becoming the new Godfather, becoming the new Don at the end, is very interesting. And I wish that they had gone ahead with the Godfather 4, which they were going to do before Mario Puzo died. It was going to be like Godfather 2, two different movies, flashbacks and flash forward. One focusing on Sonny Corleone and the rise of Vito, who would have been... Sonny was going to be played by DiCaprio, and Vito was going to be played by De Niro again, an older De Niro. And then it would have been the fall of the Corleone family, with Vincent getting into drugs and becoming like Pablo Escobar, and it would have gone into sort of the mid-'80s and shown him really just destroying the family with getting completely into drugs. That would have been great. I would love to see somebody write that as a book. That would be a really great way to cap off the entire series. To have Vito start the family and follow that complete evolution to Vincent destroying it. Godfather 3 is epic in scope. It is, it gets into intrigue in the Catholic Church. You've got a lot of the actors from the first movie coming back. You've got Diane Keaton coming back playing Kay. You've got the actor coming back playing Al Neri, Pacino's bodyguard. What's her name? That plays Adrian from the Rocky movies, that plays Pacino's sister in it, who's become as cold-blooded as him. She should really be running the family at this point. She's like the cold-blooded killer in this one. Talia Shire, that's it. It's a good movie, and people trash it because it's not as good, and I will completely admit, Godfather 3 is not as good as Godfather 1 and 2. By a long shot. But Godfather 1 and 2 are two of the greatest movies ever made. I mean, you look at any list of the greatest movies ever made, Godfather 1 and 2 are always on them. Always. So Godfather 3, it couldn't make it. It just couldn't reach up and grab hold of those two iconic films. Does that mean it should be punished? Does that mean that it should be looked down upon? No, it just means that it's not as good. And that to me is not a reason to hate a movie. Godfather 3 shows Michael looking for redemption. It shows a different Michael, an older Michael. Michael who's sort of at the point in his life where Vito was in the first movie, where he's starting to realize that he's damned, that he has, in trying to save his family, he has destroyed his family. And he's lost everything because of it. And he's got remorse. And he's, it's the one thing that some people complain about with Pacino, that he cut his hair really short. He doesn't have that great Michael Corleone hair anymore. I think he was Samson. He was sort of, his mane of power was shaved. We were seeing him as old and fragile, and people didn't want that. They wanted Michael to be what he was in the second movie and in the second half of the first movie. Cold-blooded, unremorseful, will wipe out anybody in his way. And instead, he's just desperate for redemption. Sorry. I'm passionate about this. So, in conclusion, I mean, this is a great film. This is a great film. Anybody who loves The Godfather should check it out and give it an honest chance. Is it Godfather 2? No. But like with Return of the Jedi, and like with, I'm sure, Dark Knight Rises this summer, it is a great cap to the entire overall saga. And just because it doesn't quite live up to the first and second movie doesn't mean that it's not a great movie in its own right. So, highly recommend it. Godfather 3.